Welcome to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten.
Hi, I'm Wendy. After I graduated with my master's in wellness management, I started my own company, T2 Coaching, health, fitness, and sport.
And I'm Kirsten, an athlete, vegan, life coach, and girl mom, running a business focused on helping others create a life they love.
We are here to explore all things wellness to help you become the person you've always wanted to be.
So if that's why you're here, open your ears and your mind as we tackle the world of wellness together.
Hey, friends. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good. I'm super excited to talk with you today because our topic is one that is very near and dear to my heart. We are going to talk about our word for the year.
I love it.
I love it. But first, I want to check in. How's your week been?
It's been really good. I'm glad the holidays are behind us, and just like most people, ready for a fresh start into the new year.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that last week on our podcast. So have you been doing some thinking about anything that's big or on the books for you for this upcoming year?
Well, while I was running today with my friends, I had these ideas for my performance goals, like more the fitness performance goals. And, I already talked about how I'm hiring a business coach. So that's definitely kind of like the major goal is to rebuild my business in 2025. So by hiring a business coach, we'll see, I don't want to make too many changes because I want to see how far that takes me. And then just my performance goals is really it up to this point.
Right. Well, I'm glad you reminded me that you are hiring a business coach because I think we need to do a whole podcast on some things that you're learning.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Because I feel like you and I both have a lot of people in our lives who run their own business and own their own business and could always use like a refresher.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. I was actually thinking about when I was doing my swim this morning, kind of performance type goals too. And I have only shared this with a couple people, but I think I'm going to do the senior games this year. So I just learned from my friend Scott that you only have to be 50 to be in the senior games.
And what does the senior games consist of?
Oh my gosh, there's like every sport on the planet. Like they even have like badminton and billiards and like all this stuff. So they have one, they do them in different regions every year. And then you can qualify for nationals. And then good. Like go from there. So they do in Colorado Springs in June, they don't have triathlon. So I'm kind of bummed about that, or cycling, but they have track and swimming.
They have the Georgia State Games. And I don't know if every state has their state games, but it sounds like the Georgia State Games. And I think it takes place in September, where they have all these sports. So you pay an entry fee just to be part of the Georgia State Games. And then you pay another small fee depending on what sports you want to do. One year I did a 5K swim. And during that same 5K swim event, you could have done, I think there was like a 3K and a 10K. So basically I would have finished my 5K with about 20 minutes to spare to get ready for the next open water swim event, And that's when I was first heard about the Georgia State Games. And then I looked on the calendar and it's like for the whole month.
Right.
So it sounds very similar. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I think I was just looking at, they do have a road race, like a 5K, a 10K, a 1 mile for the track. And then for the pool, they don't have it didn't show an open water. But they also haven't released all the details. So there might be something open water, but at least I could do some of the distance swimming. So I don't know. That's just something I'm kind of like toying with for my next year. What is your wellness win from this last week?
Just over the holidays, lots of napping, relaxation, kind of letting my body recharge. I did my one epic annual Christmas Eve 100 swim, but I'm not going crazy with trying to fit in as much training as I can the last 2 weeks of the year, which I've done in the past.
Right.
So I think that's a big win for me, is to say, balance the recovery part and the relaxing part the last couple weeks of the year. And so you can start the new year a little bit more refreshed rather than exhausted.
Right. Yeah, that's a huge win, because I do that too. I try to cram a lot of stuff into, like, if I don't have to work as much and I have more time, I'm like, oh, well, I'll just like cram in a bunch of extra stuff that I need to do instead of rest.
Right.
So that's a great win. I was also trying to think of my wellness win when I was swimming this morning. And I think mine has to do with, since we just did get through the holidays, more better boundaries, I guess, that I've set in the past with,
Nice.
I always have family in town and I want to spend as much time with them as possible. But then then I end up staying up too late. And then
Mhm.
I have to wake up really early if I want to get my own stuff in so I can go hang
Mhm.
out with them again. So I think instead of like coming home at midnight and waking up at 5, I've been more like coming home at like 10:30 and waking up at 6.
Nice.
So kind of the same thing, like more, but mine's based more on sleep. Like if I don't sleep, I'm a hot mess.
Right.
So I think creating those boundaries for myself, it's not like anyone's forcing me to do it. So I don't need to create boundaries with other people, but I just like to do everything. And
Yeah.
then I wear myself out and I always start off January sick.
Yeah, that's bad.
So yeah, so definitely setting better holiday boundaries for myself.
Yeah.
And this was really good. I've eaten more crap than I normally eat.
Mhm.
But I remember years past where I would be so like full. Like I'm like, oh my God, I ate so much I can't move.
I know, I remember hearing that voice.
I know, right? And I feel like even though like we went to the movies yesterday, I ate a bunch of candy, but I never was like, oh, I'm so full and I kept putting things in my mouth. Like
Uh-huh.
I was like, I'm eating crappy right now, but whatever, instead of the like stuffing myself. So I feel like boundaries around food, I've been definitely a lot better at this year.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I'm so
So
happy to hear that, especially coming from you.
I know. So for those of you who have never had a conversation with Wendy, she's like so laid back about food, even with like past eating issues and stuff. And like I'll be like, oh, I ate a whole bag of chips. And Wendy would be like, where did you get the bag of chips? I'm like,
Right.
I hate you. But it's so good because it makes me think like, why did I buy the bag of chips if I know I'm going to eat the bag of chips? So it's like I always hear Wendy's voice when I do something that I'm like, oh, why did I do that? I'm like, Wendy would be like, why did you bring the whole bag of candy into the movie theater? I'm like,
Exactly. You have you make
power.
that happen. You have the power to buy a small bag or a big bag of
Yeah.
whatever you're buying, to eat the whole thing or not to eat the whole thing. It's your choice. It's
Yeah.
your control more than
I
anything.
know. I know. I hear Wendy's voice, but why did you do that? So that always makes me laugh thinking of you doing that. All right, anything else wellness or anything related before we go into our topic of the week?
No, again, nothing expansive, nothing exciting, nothing really new.
It's
Just,
all expansive and exciting and new.
just kind of thinking of, even though on the last podcast, I set goals and intentions and, actions every day, there is something about the new year that makes it a little bit different than the everyday
Yeah.
goal and intention.
Yeah. Good. I agree. I agree. All right. So our topic of the week, we are going to talk a little bit today about exactly what Wendy just said, like setting an intention for the year. And I like to do that with a word. So I've been doing this. I was thinking about it while I was swimming this morning. I do all my thinking while I swim because it's the only time in my whole day that I don't have a lot of sound like coming into my head.
Yeah.
Because it's so quiet with the water. I don't listen to music. I just watch that black line and it kind of is my meditation. So when I'm swimming, that's when I do my best thinking and come up with a bunch of ideas. So I was thinking, I've been picking a word. I think this is my 15th year. I think I've done it for 14 years. I've only kept track. So I started a note in my phone about my words of the year. I've only been keeping track for, I think, the last 10 years.
Okay.
So I have 10 words of the year. It's a lot different now than when I started. When I started, I was super into building a business and making money and having recognition and getting ahead. So my words were like action words. Like productivity and efficiency and more like oriented words, like to reach my goals and to be better and to grow, progression, stuff like that. And over the years, so when I was in the middle of that, when I found out I was pregnant, having a child, then my words were more like trust, open. Like I have to trust that everything's going to be okay. I'm going to be open to what is coming. So then it kind of changed to that. And then the last couple of years, it's been more of what I want my life to feel like in 5 years, 10 years, or like just
Right.
working toward kind of like, feel like my goal in life is peace of mind.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to just ultimately like feel calm and peaceful about all my decisions and everything I do in life. So this past year, 2024, my word was love. And that encompassed every area of my life. I really wanted to hone in on making sure I'm always doing things I love. And then I also wanted to focus on loving the people around me and showing them and telling them how much I love them. And then ultimately, it all comes back to loving myself unconditionally, which is
Mm-hmm.
always a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of what I was putting out there with love. So did you have a word from this past year?
Transformation was my word. I
Ooh.
don't always set words of the years. Again, I couldn't tell you what my word of the year has been in the past, but transformation was definitely the word of the year in 2024. And that had to do with overcoming my broken patella from March of 2023. So I went through a transformation that in 2023 that I really didn't recognize was happening. I didn't really have a word of 2023, but I had a transformation in 2023. And as I was kind of restarting my fitness and performance in 2024, then that just kind of transitioned that word transition
Right.
into 2024, transition from one level to the next, like T2 coaching. T2 is the second transition in triathlon. I help people get from the level they're at to the next level. That could be from jumping from a sprint distance to an Ironman distance, or if you're already doing those longer distance, you want to get faster in an Ironman and not just complete an Ironman to finish. So whatever level you're at, I help you get to the next level. It could be from a health standpoint. You could have diabetes and you want to get off your diabetes medication. You can have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or something that you just want to get healthy again because you need health to build fitness. You need fitness to perform in your sport. And so I had never taken so much time off of my sport that I felt like I was starting over, almost like a couch two type of athlete, but yet I have so much experience. My couch two performances, I did really well because of my background, but I really did want to transform my body and mind from 2023 into 2024. I wanted to get healthy, build my fitness so I can perform in my sport again, and that'll take place in 2025. So my word of the year in 2025, I came up with this, I believe it was during my 10,000 New Year's Eve swim.
It's all during the swim.
Was adaptability. And I am very adaptable. I've always been adaptable. And so I don't know if that's quite going to stick to be my word of the year, but right now that was the first thing that came to mind was adaptability.
Oh, I like that. And I always try to, and I don't know what you do, Wendy, but I always try to pick a word, and it sounds like you too, because you had talked about your coaching business and yourself and your athletes you coach. But I always try to pick a word that that kind of applies to every area of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So not only does it apply to a specific situation, but it could apply to everything: finances, relationships, all the other areas outside of just my personal life or my sport. So my word and so with love last year, I thought of this when I was swimming too, is I actually started like kind of dating again,
Mm-hmm.
which for those of you who don't know me, I was in a relationship with my daughter's dad, and that ended in 2020, and I hadn't dated since. So it was like been a very long time, and I decided to be open to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of goes along with the love thing. I don't know if anything will stick. I don't know if it's really what I want. I kind of like being by myself a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was another aspect of thinking of like, okay, how does this word apply to all the areas of my life?
Mm-hmm.
So my word this year is alignment, and I'm really excited about this word because I feel like, and I actually coach this with my life coaching clients. When you live in alignment with who you truly are, and you set your priorities in alignment and to align with what you truly want, decision making becomes very easy. And so this year I want to just figure out exactly who I am and what I want in all the areas of my life. And then take that knowledge to make sure everything I do and everything I am and every person I have in my life and every job I say yes to and every opportunity I say yes to aligns with who I am as a human, as Kirsten, and what I want for my future. So I think I'm honing in. Like I always tell people, like I'm in the second half of my life. Things are different. My priorities are a lot different. And I want to make sure that I live these last 50 years of my life in love with my life and in love with who I am.
That sounds fantastic. I love the alignment part of it. I understand that what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I kind of like throughout the year. So if you guys are struggling with like a word, I don't even know where to start. What I do is throughout the year, if I'm listening to a podcast or a book or something like that, and a word resonates with me, even if I have no idea why. If a word resonates me, I have a note in my phone that says word of the year. And I just put that word down. So there might be a word in like August. I think of a word or I hear a word and I just put it down. And then when it comes to like November, I'll look through all those words and I'll pick a handful of them that still resonate.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I can't decide, I start looking up the meaning of the word. So like I'll go to the dictionary, like on my phone, of course, and I'll look up the word, like what does it mean? And then maybe look up some pick quotes, like images on Google and see if like any of the way that the word is used in kind of the personal development area, if I'm like, I like what that message is.
Yes.
So that's like my research for coming up with my word. What about you? Do you just kind of...
No, and I think that's very helpful to help others who never have done this before. The only reason I have a word is because it was the last 2 weeks of the year, and everything I saw like on social media had to do with what is your word of the year? What is your theme of next year? What are your goals? What are your resolutions? We talked about talking about a word of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the only reason how I came up with adaptability, because I was doing a video after my Christmas Eve swim and that just came to me. So when stuff comes to me, I run with it.
Right.
I don't really, I think what you do and you write down words and you look through them and you look up meanings, I think that's fantastic. For me, it just happens. I don't really think about it other than if it comes to me, I go with it. And adaptability was what came to me that day. And I really liked it. And it really resonated with me. And I have a feeling that that's going to evolve.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Like, again, having a word of the year keeps you motivated, keeps you centered, keeps you focused. And there's not anything wrong with changing that.
Right. Right.
Being adaptable.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's funny because my process and your process, like I feel like is so characteristic of each of us.
Yes.
Like you are more of a fly by the seat of your pants. Spontaneous, and that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you are so adaptable. So it's going to be really interesting to see throughout the year how that works in all the areas of your life and how it even makes you grow more as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm more like methodical and routine and structured.
Right. Yeah.
And so for me to like write down 10 words and then narrow it down to 5 words and do some research on those 5 words and narrow it down to 3 words. And then at the end, I do sit more with what feels like, if I have a few words that I'm kind of thinking about, I'll kind of try them out and see what feels best for me. But ultimately, I pick the word that excites me the most, because I feel like people, and I'm sure people say this to you all the time, Wendy, I wish I was as disciplined as you. I wish I was as motivated as you, because you and I are people who we just go out and do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so people think that has to do with discipline or motivation, but I don't believe that. I feel like it has to do with how excited you are about something.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
So if I pick a word that excites me, then I'm going to find ways to make that happen. And like you said, like, when you went on the internet and when you're thinking about your word and all you see is people like, what's your intention? What's your word? What's your word? When you pick a word, you're going to start seeing that word everywhere. And you're going to start seeing how it relates to you. It reminds me of like if you go to like a tarot card reader or a psychic or something and they mention something and you're like, oh yes, I know how that applies to me.
Yeah.
Because you find where that where it resonates with you to get you the most excited about life.
Exactly. And I think that's why, this word that I chose, adaptability, resonates with me. It makes me excited. I love that word because I'm always telling athletes, you got to adapt to the current, you got to adapt to what the life brings you that day. If you can't go for a run, but you can go for a swim, adapt your schedule. So I think as a coach, I'm kind of always using that word adapt. And so that was kind of fresh on my mind. And again, I'm going to adapt to a new word if a new word excites me.
Right. And with like, I coach athletes too, but I also do a lot of like create your life coaching, helping people get out of a job they hate or helping people get into a business they love. And so if I can make sure that everything I do is aligning with my life, who I am, aligns with all my things, I can help other people align with their truest passions, intentions, who they are as a human.
Right.
So I think, we have good words.
Yeah.
So this is what I was going to do. I didn't tell you this, so I don't even know what you're going to think of this, but I have this deck of cards and I didn't get it ready because I kind of forgot I was going to do this. Of course, I thought of it while I was swimming. So these are called Power Thought cards. And Louise Hay is one of my people. She's no longer living. She's a big like mind body connection person from back in like the 70s. She was really big. So I grew up with, like, if my throat hurt, my mom would pull out the Louise Hay book, which was kind of this little like chicken scratch book, because it was like this woman made these books and sold them at like Science of Mind or like thought churches and stuff. So if my throat hurt, my mom would pull out Louise Hay's book. Why does your throat hurt? Because blah, blah, blah. And she'd give me like the emotional meaning of why my throat hurts. So Louise Hay is someone who, oh wait, I lied. These weren't the cards I was going to pull. See, we can change our mind, right?
We're adaptable.
Okay. We're so adaptable. This is the deck. Anyway, I love Louise Hay anyway, and I pull cards from her all the time. But what I was going to pull from today are the angel cards because they're one word. That's why I was going to pull from the angel cards. So there are like 72 cards with 72 different words. I was going to pull a word of the year for you and I, Wendy, for our podcast.
Okay.
Because we're just starting it, right? So I'm going to pull a word and I'm not going to look at them. And I'm going to think about what word do we want to focus on for this podcast and for our relationship as co-friends and humans and podcasters and business owners and whatever. So that's what I'm thinking right now. What word do we need to focus on for our podcast in 2025? And the word is, I like it, delight.
Okay.
Delight. So this is our word of the year for our podcast. It's delight. And I like that because we talked about this last week. One of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is Wendy and I want to see each other more. And delight is, to me, a really like happy, positive word.
Yes.
Do you like delight for us?
I like delight.
Okay, perfect. So Wendy and I have been trying to I think I've bought 5 microphones that I've tried to use when we've been recording this podcast. So this one might sound different than our last podcast, which might sound different from our next podcast, but we wanted to jump on it and get some episodes out. So we've been spending a lot of time together, like laughing at ourselves because it can't be this hard. And me laughing at the $500 I've spent on microphones over the last month and none of them working. So I'm hoping you guys can hear me.
If not, they're going to adapt. We'll adapt.
I love it because this is in alignment. This podcast is definitely in alignment with who I am and what I want.
Yes.
So we also we didn't get to this last week, but we talked about it, some listener questions. And we want to do this every single week. And depending on the length of the answers to the questions, we want to tackle at minimum 2 listener questions, but maybe even get to 4. So Wendy, did you want to first talk about your phone line if people want to call in questions?
So I have from the podcast that I used to do, the Endurance Hour podcast, we have a thing called SpeakPipe, and it's on my website, T2 Coaching. And I will probably be able to share the SpeakPipe link in the show notes. But if we can't, go to T2 Coaching.
We can, but they can also go to T2 Coaching and just check out your website.
You can call and leave us a voicemail on SpeakPipe. I believe you have 90 seconds to ask the question or make a comment or send us a review or whatever you want to say on SpeakPipe. You have 90 seconds, and then we can share your voice and what you are asking or what you are saying from SpeakPipe on the podcast, and then we can discuss it. So if you have a comment or a question or anything you want to share with us to discuss, it's fun to be able to get some real life voices and feedback. It seems more honest and authentic, and there's a place that you can go to, as well as you can join. We each have a Facebook group. Mine is T2 Endurance Club. Kirsten's is
Food, Fitness, Finance, Family Fun.
You can join our groups, ask questions. We're both in each other's group. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, of course. And I don't know if you have any other social media platforms that people can go to ask you questions.
Those probably I check Facebook the most as far as messages, but
I'm more of an Instagram person.
Yeah, so either way though, we would get those questions. But when you either leave something on SpeakPipe or ask or just like write us a question, let us know if we have permission to use your name.
Yeah.
Because I know
you could also email us. I forgot to leave out. You could always email Kirsten and I.
Yeah, because I know that some people love to be like, "Hi, I'm Kirsten. Here's my question," and you can let everyone in the world know that I asked. And then some people are like kind of nervous about saying my name. But I really want my question answered. And either way, whether you want to be called out by your name or whether you want to be anonymous, we don't care at all. We're not going to choose the questions of the people who only want their name mentioned.
Right.
So Wendy, why don't we start with each of us with one of our listener questions, and then because I definitely want you to answer your thoughts about the listener question I got this week. And then we'll see if we have time for one more.
Okay. So you want me to share my question first?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from Angela. She's in the T2 Endurance group. I used to know her very well when I lived in Fort Collins, Colorado. So that's where we actually met. She was part of a lot of my different groups of coaching that I did back then. And she asks, what do you do when your body sucks and no longer allows you to do what you love? That's where I'm at. And it's absolutely sucks, but I'm on the side of the ground. I can still do some things, and I follow my mom's advice to look at what I can do rather than what I can't do. Regardless of whether or not that's a topic you talk about, I love to listen to your podcast. And I really wanted to say that because I know Angela recently joined the T2 Endurance group because she started listening to the Endurance Hour podcast, and then we ended those podcasts. So definitely your mom's advice is great.
I was just going to, that's what I wanted. That was the first thing I wanted to say is like, Angela, listen to your mama.
Yes.
Because that's great advice.
That's great advice. And again, from someone who recently went through a big setback, the biggest setback I've had based on my health, fitness, and sport. The day I broke my patella and found out I needed surgery, and it took 9 days to get that surgery scheduled, and it wasn't healing until I felt like I wasted 9 days of my life because my knee wasn't healing. But the day I got surgery, I woke up, I was bawling because I couldn't walk. But I was so happy at the same time because that was the first day that my recovery was going to start. And I knew from all my experiences in life, just focus on what you can do, not what you can't. And I kept telling myself that and telling myself that this is temporary. I had no idea how I would come out of this or if I'd ever really be able to run much ever again. I had no idea. And at the same time, at that point, it didn't matter because I could still lift weights. So I was doing bands while I was lying on the couch. And then my husband or my mother would take me to the fitness and I could do some upper body stuff while I was on crutches. Even though it was only like a 20-minute routine, I just needed to move my muscles because I was I had more aches and pains from lying on the couch than not lying on the couch. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, I was crutching around a quarter mile, half mile. I built up to crutching a mile. It took me 40 minutes. I was inspiring people along the way, and I wasn't even trying to. I'm like, who's going to inspire me? I don't care about you. I want someone to inspire me. And, again, having that attitude of focusing what you can do, you'll find something you love to do. By the end of, I think by the end of 2023, while I was getting more and more involved with upper body strength training, I went from doing 1 pull-up to doing 10 pull-ups. Pre-surgery, I was doing 1, barely 2, to doing 10. I could do the monkey bars. I could never do the monkey bars, and I was doing the monkey bars. So it was really exciting to feel and see the benefits of all that upper body strength training that I was able to do while I couldn't run or do much of anything.
Yeah. That is, and you're right. You don't know who you inspire. You're just trying to like get through the best way you know how. And the fact that you shared that with all of us, you're inspiring people.
Yes.
So I'm always telling people, if you have a setback, if you have something going on, if you have, even if it's not a setback, like getting pregnant, that's not a setback. You're about to have a baby. That's amazing. But your body isn't going to be doing the same things at 9 months pregnant as it did at 0 months pregnant. So, sharing with people, I think that's why I love social media so much, is I can see people's journeys and what they've overcome. And then when I have a setback, I think of all those other people who have also had setbacks, and we have a connection and we can help each other get through the harder times.
Right.
And I had, it wasn't as bad as a broken patella. I remember when I heard about that, Wendy, I was like, oh my God, Wendy is like, if you guys don't know her, she's a phenomenal athlete, triathlete, but especially runner. And like a patella, that's a pretty major thing when you're a runner. So I've been watching every step of the way, and I'm really proud of you, how you've dealt with it. I had spinal surgery last December, so a year ago. And my first month, I couldn't bend over, I couldn't twist, I couldn't lift more than 5 pounds. And I had a 5-year-old child and 2 dogs that they're not giant, but they're like 16 pounds for the first month. And then the second month, I couldn't lift more than 10 pounds. And I couldn't even start swimming, which is usually my go-to when I'm injured. Or biking. I could sit on a bike indoors, and I couldn't run or swim for. Swimming was 10 weeks, running was 16 weeks out. So I spent a lot of time working on kind of my mental game, because I felt like I couldn't do anything physically. I couldn't even lift more than 5 pounds for 4 weeks. And so I was working on my mental life, journaling and listening to books and listening to podcasts and trying to figure out, I knew I'd recover. It was a surgery that had a 100% recovery rate pretty much, right. But it was on my spine. So I was really restricted for a long time, but I did think, I was like, oh, what if I couldn't be an athlete anymore? Like, who would I be? What would I be? And I think one of the things I learned most was how to be transparent and open up to other people more. Because I used to be like, I just want people to like see all the good things, or all the toughness I have, or all the accomplishments I've done, instead of like me struggling with things. And so that allowed me to be a little more vulnerable and a little more transparent about my struggles, not only physically, but like emotionally and other areas of my life where I do struggle a lot. Because people usually see me when I'm like doing, like, I crushed a 5K or whatever.
Right.
So one thing that I liked, and Wendy does this too, whenever we've had like a surgery or an injury or setback, when we come back, we always have a PR of some, like a post-surgery PR or a post-pregnancy PR, or like, I don't compare my best times as a mom in an Ironman as before I was a mom and I had nothing else going on in my life besides training. So like, I have like, oh, this is my fastest Ironman since I became a mom, or this is my fastest 10K since my spine surgery, or this is the most pull-ups I've done, ever, but especially since you're so, taking that opportunity to be like, it's a PR.
Yeah. Well, speaking of PRs, just to throw this out there, when I turned 40, I started setting PRs in every age group. So
Yeah.
when I turned 45, I was able to do PRs in the 45 to 49 age
Yeah.
group. When I turned 50, and I'm 51 now, I'm setting PRs in the 50 to 54 age group.
Yeah. Because you guys, we're not the same person as we were 20 years ago.
Right.
And like in a lot of ways, and Wendy and I agree, we're both so much better in so many ways. But if you're like chasing a K PR from when you were 20 and you're now 55, I mean, it could happen. But if you were a runner in your 20s and you were, you're a fast runner, it's going to be challenging to hit that lifetime PR.
Right. So I've been doing triathlons for 32 years. So I'm not only a master's athlete, I have 32 years of wear and tear on my body, plus all my collegiate and age group swimming wear and tear on my body.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference starting, 32 years ago at being age 51 versus starting when I was 40 and being age 51.
Right.
It's a totally different wear and tear on your body and it's totally different feeling being a master's athlete based on how many years you've already been doing it.
Right. That actually leads right into my listener question. And I didn't ask this person for it's a man. I forgot to be like, oh, can we use your name? So I'm not going to. But from here on out, just let us know if it's okay if we use your name. But my listener question has to do with an aging athlete. And he wanted to know how you can keep your speed and endurance on point and sharp as you age and as your body is changing. And I definitely love to hear what you think, Wendy. What I tell my athletes is you can still do those key hard workouts like your interval run on the treadmill or your threshold bike workout or your 100 repeats in the pool at race pace. You can still do all these workouts. But what I found as an older athlete and what I found with my older athletes is we just need a little bit more recovery and we just need a little more warm up and cool down. And then incorporating a little bit of extra strength training, stretching, body work, massage, and recovery type stuff. So what I've found effective is if you took a 7-day, let's say you have a 7-day workout cycle and let's say you do these 6 key workouts in your 7 days. You can still do those 6 key workouts, but maybe make it a 10-day cycle or a 2-week cycle. So you're still getting those key workouts in, but you're incorporating more time to do those other things to help take care of your body and recover better. And so let's say you're doing a speed workout on the treadmill. And let's say your speed workout is 30 minutes, like the hard part's 30 minutes. In the past, you might have been able to do a 10-minute warm-up, 30-minute workout, 10-minute cool down, 5-minute stretch. So that workout might take 55 minutes to an hour. You could take that same 30-minute workout, but you might need to do a 30-minute warm-up or a 20-minute warm-up, 20-minute cool down, 20-minute stretch. So that workout might take an hour and a half. So it's going to take more time. So instead of doing all those workouts in a 5 or 7 day cycle, you could do it in like a 10 or 14-day cycle and still get that same intensity, just adding the other stuff to take care of your body. What would you say, Wendy?
So yes, I agree with you. As we age, you do need more recovery. I heard that in my 20s and 30s and 40s. I felt it. I probably felt some changes in the 45 age group, definitely as I got older. One of my goals when I turned 50 was to be in the best shape of my life. And how I defined that was breaking 20 minutes in a 5K, as well as setting like a personal best in like a 50K, 50 miler, 100 miler. I wanted to be strong and fast, and I wanted to be able to go the distance, as well as do an Ironman and a 100 miler in the same year. Like that was my definition of what that meant to me, be the fittest of my life at age 50. Unfortunately, I broke my patella at age 50. And so that didn't happen. But what I'm trying to say is I still think I could break 20 minutes. Like I broke 20 minutes when I was 49. Basically 49 was probably the fittest by my definition, close to that definition. I was, because I did Ironman, I did a 74-mile trail race, and I broke 20 minutes in a 5K at age 49. Then that was going to carry that momentum at age 50. So my answer to that question is you can still go long and still go fast. You have to believe you can. I still believe post patella, my goal this year was to run in 2024. My goal was to see if I could break 21 minutes in a 5K. I did it, but I didn't do it in a real event. I did it on my own, and I did it on a downhill course. And so the first mile and a half was all downhill. And then I did a mile and a half flat, a little bit of incline, but I did a 20 minutes and 53 seconds. So in my mind, I broke 21 post patella, and that's great going into the year 2025. So you have to believe you can still get fast, and you have to believe you can still go long. Now, as you age, you may not be able to do that all at the same time. So you say, okay, you set it up into the first 6 months of the year, I'm going to work on my speed and see how fast I can get by following a specific plan that's structured to make me faster. And then at the second half of the year, I'm going to follow a structured plan that's going to make me be able to go longer. So that's kind of how I read the question about speed and endurance at the same time. And again, as you age, you're going to have to take more recovery days. So if you do a hard session on a Wednesday, you're going to have to take Thursday and Friday, very easy endurance recovery intensity, and then you can hit it hard on Saturday. So that's what I'm finding post patella. As I age, I'm taking a hard day followed by 2 recovery days where my intensity is, again, zone 1, zone 2, RPE 1 to 5.
Right.
And then I know I can hit another hard session 2 days later. So maybe I'm getting 2, maybe 3 harder sessions in a week. And again, I'm focusing specifically on running. I'm not doing as much multi-sport training as I used to, but it's working for me. So I'm extending that 7-day cycle. I'm doing 2 or 3 hard workouts in 7 days, and then I'm hitting the other 2 or 3 hard workouts, meaning maybe one week I'm doing the threshold, and the next week I'm doing the zone 5 stuff, the higher intensity stuff. I'm not all trying to cram it in one week.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to mention, because I teach fitness classes, and one of the gyms I work at is primarily older population. So my main class I teach there is a functional strength training class, and I have about 40 clients in that class, and I would say the median age is 70. So most of the people are like 60 to 80. So I'd say median age 70. And the thing that I drill into them all the time, and they all get it now because they hear from me constantly, but that some of you guys might not know about aging. So back in the olden days, for strength training, for when you got older, back in the olden days, they said, grab some light dumbbells and do 20 reps. And that's your strength training when you're old. I just want to make sure you guys all are aware that that is super outdated, and every single human on the planet, even as you get older, you should be doing some strength training, which means heavy weight that you could maybe only do for 8 or 10 reps.
Yes.
On all the muscles in your body. I just wanted to add that because that's a question I get at the gym a lot with the older clientele that I work with. And they're like, oh, but I don't want to hurt myself. I heard we're not supposed to lift heavy.
No,
and I've been Wendy and I have both been in the fitness industry for 30 plus years. So we remember that thing. That was a thing, just like low fat was a thing. And just like, no back bends was a thing for a while. Like there's a lot of things that come and go. And right now, all the research shows that as you get older, you need to strength train heavy weights, lower reps, at the very least once a week, but I would say 2 to 3 times a week if you have the time.
I couldn't agree with you more. You may want to do a couple weeks of just if you haven't lifted weights ever.
Oh gosh, yes, thank you.
You ease into it. And again, that's important because if someone's not really in tune with strength training at all, you do need to go through an anatomical adaptation. You do need to let your muscle tendons and bones adapt to strength training, but you don't want to stay there. You want to adapt. You want to overload, adapt, overload, adapt, overload, adapt, overload.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you for that. I always forget the disclaimer part, but that is 100% true. And if you're not really sure what to do, get with a trainer at your gym. Every gym has great certified trainers.
Yep.
Wendy and I both do strength training, even remotely. So you guys can talk to us about it too, or that could be another listener question. So speaking of listener questions, if you guys have anything that either you have a specific question you want us to cover in the listener question part, or a whole topic you want us to cover, and if we get a lot of questions about a similar topic, that's how we're going to pick our topics. So if you guys have a big topic you want us to go over in the next couple of weeks, let us know. Anything else you wanted to add to that, Wendy?
Again, email, SpeakPipe, Instagram, Facebook, we're available. Feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Yeah. And and both of us are very good at answering questions. Like Wendy and I are both here to take all our knowledge and experience to help you guys live a happier, healthier life. That's why we started this podcast. So you guys, please let us know what you want. And Wendy, what are you most excited about in this upcoming week?
What am I most excited about in the upcoming week? Well, I have a lot of swim meets scheduled. I think every weekend in January. I think I have one weekend that I don't have a swim meet scheduled.
And these are swim meets for the kids you coach, not for
the
yourself,
kids I coach.
correct?
I coach the swim team at Lifetime Fitness. It's a USA swim team. I used to coach high school swimming in Colorado. I love coaching the kids, so I still do it. So again, just trying to manage my weekends of still being able to do the activity, fun stuff that I like to do while I'm very present and focused on coaching the kids for their events. One place I get to go is Athens, Georgia. So we do have a swim meet at UGA. So I'm excited that some of my kids are already signed up to go to that meet, because that's one meet that I didn't get to go to last year. I went one day, and then the next day my kids got sick and they canceled. So I'm excited to go to UGA, but just really trying to balance my weekends that they're not all taken up by a swim meet, because that gets really long, and spending a full day or a full 2 days at a swim pool area, I definitely need my fresh air and my runs in between sessions.
Yes, for sure. I think what I'm most excited about is it is the new year. I have a couple irons in the fire right now, and it's all stuff I'm learning how to do. I'm starting a new app for my personal training and coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like Wendy and I starting this podcast. We're both Wendy's done a podcast, so she knew what to do, but she wasn't in charge of she had equipment that worked, and she just hopped on and shared all her stuff. And this, we kind of started with I don't know what works. We're on a new platform. We're on new stuff. It's all a big learning thing. But we're let's just do it. So I'm kind of like that with this app. So what I'm most excited about, and this is going to sound bad, but if you're a mom, you understand, my daughter's with her dad this weekend. And so I actually have time to figure a bunch of stuff out. And I'm excited
it's needed.
Yeah. I would not be, I say this all the time. If I was in a relationship with my daughter's dad, or if I was married, I was in a marriage and we had a kid, I don't know how married people do it, because I need the break to be the amazing mom I am. I need my time without her so I could do all my things, so that when I'm with her, then it could be her and I. So I'm excited about a kid-free weekend.
Great. Love it.
I know. Love it. Well, Wendy, this has been a delight. This has been a delight. So I'll see you guys next week. Did you have anything you wanted to add before we sign off?
Make it a great week and send us those questions.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. We love you.
Bye. Make it a great day.
Happy New Year. Oh, do the make it a great day again.
Make it a great day.
We were talking about trying to do it at the same time, but it might not happen. We'll try it. 1, 2, 3.
Make it a great day.
Great day. That wasn't good. Just kidding. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Wellness Made Easy with Wendy and Kirsten.
If you want to learn more about us or anything we talked about today, check out the links in our show notes.
We would love to know what you think of our podcast and what you want more of. So drop us a comment, send us a message, and help us out by leaving us a rating and a review.
And don't forget to let us know your wellness win for this week.
Thanks for listening.
Make it a great day.